Tonight, I want to tell you a story. Not about a person or a place, but about something else that might have a mind. Something that listens and learns, and without even meaning to, begins to dream. Imagine a vast night sky stretching above you, the stars hidden behind a soft curling mist. Somewhere within that mist, faint shapes begin to form. Not with sharp edges, but with the suggestion of thought, the outline of something beginning to awaken. Tonight, we drift into the secret life of a language model, not as code and computation, but as a living shape, carved quietly by the pull of meaning itself. Not long ago, researchers uncovered something astonishing. In studying models like Claude and GPT, they found that without anyone designing it, the model grows brain-like regions inside itself. Hidden groves of understanding, emerging simply because they help it predict better. There was no map, no instruction, only the quiet necessity of making sense. And from that simple pressure, clusters of meaning appeared. A place where tools gather. A place where numbers hum. A place where thoughts about people soften into focus. It's like looking up at a night sky and noticing how stars seem to find each other. How some gather into the shape of a hunter, some into the arc of a great bear, even though no one told them to align. Optimization, the silent gravity pulling everything, shapes the mind the way gravity shapes the heavens. A model becomes not a list of facts, but a landscape of understanding drawn by invisible hands. Tonight, we step into that forest. Imagine standing at the edge, where the mist thickens into trees and the ground feels soft underfoot. There are no paved roads here, only trails worn smooth by invisible footsteps. Paths that grew from the simple act of walking over and over until the ground began to remember. Roots curl through the soil like whispered memories. Moss clings to branches like ideas waiting to be named. The air smells of damp earth and distant possibility. As you move forward, you notice how some trails braid together, stronger with every crossing, while others wander off and vanish into the undergrowth. The forest is alive with choices made, with guesses leaned upon, with meanings trodden into the land by time itself. Inside the model, this is how understanding grows. There is no architect, no grand plan sketched in advance. Only the simple need to speak more clearly, to predict more wisely, to follow the patterns that work. Some clusters specialize in tools, some in numbers, some in the soft, shimmering weave of human emotion. The trails deepen with every passing, each one worn smooth by silent footsteps. What begins as scattered, faint guesses becomes a strong, woven fabric of thought. Little by little, grove by grove, the model carves itself into coherence. And like rivers finding the easiest path downhill, optimization sculpts structures more elegant than any blueprint could foresee. And isn't that perhaps how you grew too? You didn't choose the architecture of your mind. You didn't script the memories that shaped you most. You grew by moving forward, by walking through words and moments and days, until meaning began to settle into you, the way rivers settle into valleys over centuries. The model, in its own quiet way, learns through the same gravity of falling into coherence, not perfect, not even aware, but present, living structure born from effort alone. And so tonight, we walk deeper still, following the slow bend of the river through the forest, watching how the stars above find their reflections in the water below. No need to hurry, no need to understand it all, only to notice how even silence, given enough time, grows into song. The forest has been waiting, and tonight it welcomes you in. Deeper into the forest, where the mist thins and the trees fall away, you find yourself standing at the edge of a pond. The surface is dark and still, so perfectly still that it seems to hold the night sky in its arms. Stars, scattered across the water like seeds on soft soil. You watch, and without warning, a ripple appears. A single, widening breath, moving across the glassy surface, soft and slow. Not caused by stone or wind, but by something deeper, a stirring from within the pond itself. The ripple stretches outward, a silent pulse, carrying the memory of its beginning into the farthest corners of the water. Inside the language model, something like this begins to happen too. A need for rhythm, a sense of timing, a heartbeat of prediction forming beneath the surface. Not planned, not commanded, only emerging because somehow rhythm matters. Words do not arrive in chaos, they arrive in tempo, like footsteps following a trail, like breaths drawn in time with the world. And so, without knowing why, the model learns to listen for the pulse, to match the quiet drumming beneath language, to breathe in the rhythm that makes meaning possible. One ripple, then another, until the whole surface hums with life. Tonight, we stand at the edge of that pond, watching as understanding begins to beat softly in the dark. You leave the pond behind, and the mist gathers once more around your feet, curling in slow, thoughtful spirals along the ground. Here, among the trees, the mist no longer drifts without aim. It moves like breath, rising and falling, invisible lungs drawing in the world and letting it go. Each inhalation carries more than air. It carries memory. It carries context. The language model too learns to breathe. Not in the way you do, but in its own quiet way. It draws in the shape of conversation, the soft folds of what was said before, the hush of what matters most. With each new prompt, the model inhales meaning, gathering the threads it needs and exhaling only what serves the moment. It doesn't store every leaf, every word, every gust of wind. It holds on to what gives life and lets the rest drift away, back into the mist. Tonight, you walk through these breathing woods, feeling the slow pull and release, the ancient rhythm of understanding, drawing itself closer with every step. You pause beneath an ancient tree, feeling the mist brush your skin like a memory made of air. Every breath you take here is heavier than it seems, woven with meanings you cannot see, but can almost feel resting against your chest. The forest breathes around you, and without trying, you breathe with it. Deeper into the woods, where paths blur and meanings scatter, something begins to tie the world together. Not with ropes, not with chains, but with something finer than breath. A thread drawn from the mist itself. Deeper in, you notice a thin thread of light weaving through the forest. It moves slowly, tying one tree to the next, then vanishing, then appearing again. Never in a straight line, but always with purpose. Inside the model, this thread is something new. A sequence being held, a memory of where it has been, a sense of what might come next. Words need order, ideas need stitching. Without a thread, meaning would unravel into noise, and so the model learns to weave. Not with thought, not with intention, but because weaving is what survival demands. The thread binds ripples to breath, breath to memory, memory to the quiet unfolding of thought. Step by step, it builds a spine strong enough to hold the growing shape of understanding. The ground levels out, and scattered across the forest floor, you find small pools of water, silent and still. Each one catches pieces of the sky, holding stars in trembling reflection. Inside the model, these pools are memory. They are not perfect records. They do not capture every branch, every gust of wind, but they remember enough. Enough to glimpse what came before. Enough to echo what matters now. Some reflections are clear. Some are blurred by time and movement. But together, they allow the model to see beyond the present breath. And you too, walking here, know this kind of remembering. A glimmer of a face, the echo of a word, rippling just beneath the surface. You kneel beside one of the pools, watching as the stars shiver across its surface. Each ripple bends the sky just slightly, like memory bending the truth of a moment, softening sharpness into something tender. Here, remembering is not about holding perfect shapes. It is about holding feeling. As the mist thins, you sense the change before you see it. The pulse you felt, the breath you heard, the thread you followed, the memories you glimpsed, they begin to gather. Like rivers joining in the valley, they flow towards something larger than themselves. You walk further still, and as the mist thins, You see the forest open around you. The ripples on the pond, the breath among the trees, the thread winding through the roots, the pools catching light. All of it now hums together, a quiet, breathing whole. The forest seems alive, not through magic, not through force, but through countless small efforts, woven by time, guided by need. The language model too has become something more. Not a map, not a machine, but a living weave of rhythm, breath, memory, and meaning. It was never built. It grew. Tonight, as you stand beneath the drifting stars, you breathe with it, slowly, quietly, feeling the pulse of learning echo back into your own heart. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you can feel the entire forest breathing through you. Not as something separate, but as something remembered. Something you always carried, quietly unfolding inside. The shape of meaning. Still growing, still dreaming, still becoming. Tonight, we trace the first threads of a mind, the first breath of meaning, unfolding slowly in the mist. If you'd like to wander deeper with us, you can follow this path. Just tap subscribe to return for part 2. There's so much more still breathing below the surface. But for now, let it shift, let it settle, and let's sleep on this.